January the 2nd, 2025, and the sun is shining here in the mountain village of Drusha, Western Cyprus. The ground within this courtyard is still heavily sodden following those recent rains, but work must commence. There is still so much to do, and today's task, I intend to begin dismantling this ancient bread oven. Now, although we fell in love with this original feature, sadly the roof has completely collapsed, the whole structure is subsiding and the side walls are completely blown. So it is very precarious indeed and extremely dangerous. So once again, I'll take it apart stone by stone very carefully, saving every piece, and eventually we intend to build a new bread oven on another part of this site. So without further ado, let's get cracking. And as with the rest of those walls, I think it would just take a little tap with my heavy hammer here and there to loosen those rocks. Just as I thought. You can see just how dangerous it is. These rocks are just perched there and held together with a little mud. There are many tons of stone here, and as I say, this structure was so dangerous it could have collapsed at any moment. We've taken many photographs and video of this old bread oven. This particular oven is some 3.5 meters square, and they would have been able to bake many loaves at a time, but we won't need an oven quite so big, so we will replicate it on a smaller scale. Well, this ancient bread oven is more than a century old, but it is so incredibly unstable. It's taking very little effort at all to loosen these stones. And these larger rocks are more than capable of killing somebody if they tumble down. Once again, no need for power tools here, just a tap in the right place and this ancient structure will come apart piece by piece. Pieces of wood within this oven that have been preserved for more than a century. I have no idea what they would have been used for, but I'm sure somebody will tell me. Now I know there are many that would say this is a precious relic and should be saved, but we really must consider the safety of ourselves and our family. We would never forgive ourselves if this collapsed and was the cause of a tragic accident. But this bread oven will be rebuilt in a separate corner of the property. So once again, this plot of land in the centre of this traditional old village will bake bread. You mark my words. It is important too to regularly clear the job site of debris so that you can work in relative safety. But the precarious nature of this colossal oven, many tons, as I say, of this rock, does mean that it will take several days, I believe, to safely dismantle it. I'm having to sift through this mountain to separate every piece of usable stone from the many tons of soil that is packed in here. In fact, there hasn't been an ounce of cement or concrete used in the construction of this old oven. But all of this small stone will be used because, as many builders know, to buy crushed concrete for your sub-bases is so expensive. So all of this will pay dividends later on in the project. I've demolished around a third of this oven so far, and I've been working for several hours. As I said before, just the demolition of this antiquity will take several days. I truly believe it now. But if you have the right mindset when you're doing projects of this magnitude, I always think that every stone I remove is a little step forward and another step forward and another step forward, and if we keep taking those steps, eventually further down the line, maybe many months, we'll be sitting here with a cold beer in this beautiful courtyard. Well, today is a very exciting day indeed. I'm just waiting for a very nice man by the name of Joseph to arrive with his little bobcat digger to remove all of this rubbish. So by the end of the day, we will have a huge open space ready to crack on with this job. The first job of the day is to remove these old entrance gates so that Joseph and his little bobcat machine can get inside. So I'm going to have to grind off the old hinges, but these doors will have to go back on at the end of the day, and they will stay for the duration of the project. But I fully intend to make some beautiful hardwood gates at the very end. Incredibly tight for space here for this little machine. This little bobcat really is the only machine for this job. The entrance is just 20 centimetres wider than his bucket. So Joseph is really doing a fantastic job. He's such a skilled driver. And there are still many tons of debris to go. He has taken one load away in his lorry and I'm waiting for his return. All of these rocks and the smaller stones that I'm separating will eventually go back into this area to be covered in concrete. We had a shower of rain overnight, which once again has turned the garden into a bit of a quagmire. Yesterday, my very good friend Joseph came with his bobcat digger and removed between 10 and 15 tons of accumulated soil and rubbish from this corner of the courtyard. There were broken bottles, bed springs, rotten timbers, all mixed in with the earth. And you can see just how high up this wall this debris was. So I am so glad to see the back of it. But then again, there is so much more still to go. So while we have a relatively dry day, I'm going to crack on. In this tumbled down bread oven, that once again is full of dirt and debris, and that's the order of the day today. I'm going to see just how much of this material I can separate, saving the stone and discarding any roots and clay that's clogged within this old structure. Well, the colossal but also crooked bread oven has now been completely dismantled, and just as we thought, the wall behind it, that stone wall, is in need of quite a bit of remedial work. But time to move on to the next project, which is this traditional village toilet. It is just a pit in the ground, and although we intend to install a modern septic tank, I want to use this pit as a soakaway for grey water, maybe an outdoor shower or whatever. So it means I have to climb into this pit and dig out as much of the debris that has fallen inside. Now, nobody has lived on this property for some 70 years, so any bodily wastes would have rotted away completely many years ago. In fact, there is no odour whatsoever coming from this pit. So, wish me luck. Firstly, I need to remove some of these surrounding rocks so that I can climb inside. Once again, with my rusty shovel. These rocks would have been placed here more than a century ago. So, a lot of history in this simple village toilet. Being very careful not to tip too much debris inside, but sometimes it can't be helped. It is around 1 metre deep at the moment, but I'd like to take out at least another ½ metre to make this soakaway as effective as possible. I'm standing inside a traditional Cypriot village toilet. This pit is extremely well constructed considering its age. Made completely from the local sandstone, once again without a shred of cement. So, as I say, I need to try and dig down. It is very cramped, but if I can gain another ½ metre of depth, then the eventual soakaway will be a real asset to our project. Progress will be slow because, as you can see, it is very cramped. Just removing maybe half a shovelful at a time, but I'm determined. It's a beautiful sunny day in January here in Western Cyprus, and I'm spending it waist deep in a toilet. But, as I keep saying, there's absolutely no smell. Whatever was deposited in here has completely composted. All of this stone and clay would have tumbled inside over the past 60 years or so. Now I'm having to remove it. That's it, that's the extra 50 centimetres that we needed for this soakaway. But now I just have to climb out of this traditional 100-year-old village toilet.